The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, thanks for taking the time off your busy schedules to join our webinar. We're going to be presenting to you Project One. It's been in development for quite some time, and I'd like to invite Taryn Zoe, who is our president and chief architect of the product, to just give us a 10-minute overview presentation on some ideas he has, as well as the direction for the product. And then the remaining session will be just a demo of the product. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in. I'll try to address them towards the end of the webinar. Taryn, I'm going to make you the presenter now. So if you can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, thank you, Prince. This is Taryn. I have shared my screen. If you can see the screen or not, let me know.
Yep, I can see it.
Awesome. So thank you all for joining our webinar. And we are making the production release of our new product, Project One. So quickly, I want to go over a few slides to prepare for Prince to be demoing the product, to talk about the pricing, how to upgrade for details. And so first of all, why Project One? We have been working on Project One for about 5 years now. We realized the old DevSuite product need to be replaced with a newer product, Project One. So Project One has integrated with cloud. Cloud is the platform. We started working on it for the past 10 years. The idea is to combine the online meeting functions to be inside a project management software tool. So as a result, we are releasing it. Why do our customer need to upgrade to Project One? Project One works with DevSuite, and it represents the future of DevSuite. We will continuously improve Project One and to include almost all functions of DevSuite. Upgrade is free for customers with active maintenance plan. And with Project One, you shall see the productivity gain. And we are offering free edition of cloud and adding a timesheet functions for the first 50 customers upgrading to Project One P1 as well. So the top 5 benefits of upgrading to P1. We position P1 to be the first ALM tools that comes with a built-in collaboration functions via cloud. And we have just filed a patent today. We want to give a clear answer of what is agile planning. And requirement document becomes cloud live doc powered technology. So you can always let a document to be talking and making the requirement to be understood by all engineers much more easily. We introduced a new model of monitoring the work, attendance, effort, productivity, quality, disciplinary actions, and work objective, and integrated with the task board. So you can automatically calculate project team members' job performance, which we believe is ideal for today's team working from home, because the team performance is auto-calculated. So this one represents when you have a requirement document, how can you assure the total traceability as well assure the total understanding by your project teams. So when a product owner design a requirement, the requirement can be fully understood, and quantifying the effort, whether your team members are reading such requirements or not. Do they understand the document? Are they doing meetings related to document? And how much time people are spending doing the meetings related to each document of a requirement. So this is the agile project planning illustration. So the idea is to get rid of planning at the detail level, no more planning at the task level, no more putting effort of specifying the start date and the end date of tasks, even requirement, but utilizing a simpler model to commit requirement into roadmap month and be able to auto calculate, monitor the progress made by your development team members. In other words, we want to visualize the project teamwork progress via project pause animations. We just filed a patent today. We want to give the higher level managers the confidence that your team is performing well. We want to provide a graphical way to enable the project team to receive recognition of their hard work. In other words, you can basically play back and visualize the daily progress made by your project team members, by your programmers, and yet at the requirement level. And this is automatic, meaning there's no additional data needed. Just let the team work on the task board, enable them to plan their work, to track their activity, enter the time remaining, and enter the time spent at any task. You will receive a project pause. As a side result, due to the newer model of the agile planning model, you automatically get the result of every project, how healthy, and are team members achieving the roadmap month or not. So this is the a picture in the product where the team members' attendance, work effort, productivity, quality, work objective, and disciplinary work are auto calculated and auto tracked. And we have greatly improved our test module as well. And we created a collaboration platform ideal for plugging into project management tool, plug into customer support softwares of our product called Customwise, as well as other product like Jira, Salesforce. So the cloud platform is based on our own patent called LiveDoc. Basically, it allows every document to be easier to be presenting at itself and be able to enable a document to be self-explained, to be acting like a movie. And so a sync representing a document being explained by somebody and recorded automatically, like what I'm doing. And an online meeting in cloud does not rely on video streaming. It uses the LiveDoc patterns. So as a result, we can do 4K resolution of an online meeting without much bandwidth because there's no video streaming required for cloud meeting. So here is a the cloud meeting advantage when it's integrated with P1 and DevSuite and CustomWise and any other business software. You can do online meeting with multiple screens, multiple channels, and the center screen give you unlimited resolutions. As of today, 4K. In the future will be for 8K, and yet without much bandwidth usage. And most importantly, such meetings are now part of the documents of P1 and other products. Sync room is a functions useful to enable a team along with your customers to do multiple meetings, to do multiple chattings, to work on multiple documents, so that it helps you to accomplish a specific task, such as a group of requirements that need to be modified, need to be changed, and that requires the discussions among team members and with customers. I will skip the pricing and leave the pricing and how to upgrade to P1 and DevSuite 11 to Prince. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Let me go ahead and show my screen. 1 second, make myself presenter. Okay, Aaron, let me know if you can see my screen okay.
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Okay, so just want to take you guys all through ProjectOne, as well as the cloud integration that Taryn has mentioned. So right here, I've logged into just one of our demo environments. ProjectOne is a SaaS-based, or it could be installed on-premise. So either option is okay. So I'm working actually in my SaaS environment right now. But essentially in ProjectOne, we support all sorts of different types of projects. So in this list of projects here, you're going to see...
Prince,
yeah.
Prince, if you can maximize your browser, it will be nicer.
Okay, I can do that.
Just maximize the P1, yeah.
I got it. Okay. So yeah, so in my list of projects here, I have non-development projects, general purpose projects versus development projects. And what that really entails is if I go into a marketing project, it's really just simple task tracking where I don't have any other modules. Now, if I flip over to a development ALM solution or project, I'm going to have all sorts of other modules. And that includes our requirements. It's going to include testing, and it's going to include development as well. I just cleared my cache, so I think loading is actually taking a while here. So I apologize for that. Okay, I think it's okay. Let me go ahead and reload that real fast here. Okay, there we go. All right, so inside a development project, like I was mentioning, we're going to have all sorts of different modules included. Versus my general purpose non-development project, I may only have task tracking. So I'm going to start with that first. Going over to my marketing project here, essentially it doesn't contain any other modules, just task tracking. And over on the left-hand side, I'm going to start with my planning. So on the top portion here, where it says product launch, so this is going to be my marketing campaigns for a product launch. And down below is going to be how I would execute those tasks that I need to do for the product launch. Over here in the product launch, I broke down my marketing into different areas that we have to accomplish. So we have SEO, online ads, announcements, website, things like that, all basically categorizing the work that we have to accomplish. So over here, I'm going to start by just creating a story. So it's just a high-level item, and it may be something like Bing ads. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that real quick here, and then I'm going to assign to a specific individual responsible for this. So I start with that, and then down below I can create additional tasks. So one of the first things I would have to do is maybe discover keywords that I need for Bing. And then second, I would have to create the content like a landing page or so for a keyword, right? So I would go ahead and just do that and assign all these different tasks to different individuals. So here I'm going to assign to Scott, assign another one to myself, and then I'm going to go ahead and confirm. So that's essentially the gist of it. You basically create a story, multiple tasks, and then from there, the next thing I would do is I would then plan to execute these tasks. And the way I have it set up is by sprints. So these sprints can be set for certain time periods. Over here, I've done it by months, but of course we can set it to 2 weeks or however long you decide it should be. Down below, if I choose to do so, I can include what we call milestones. So this might be the first milestone we need to do before we do SEO rollout. So just a couple examples of how this can be configured. But essentially, once we do this, then I can go ahead and assign these tasks over to into my task board. So to do that, I'm just going to hit assign here, and then I'm just going to place these tasks over in February. I'm going to do that for this one as well. Place it in February. And then now, if I go into February, I will see my task board, essentially. So over here in the task board, we do have the traditional task board that shows that by status, where your columns are going to be different statuses, but more importantly, we're not going to use that. We're going to go ahead and use a calendar-like view to track all of our actions. So I'm going to group this again by owner here. And so these are the team members that are participating in the execution of the marketing plan up above. So in February, I have these tasks that I've assigned out to these different individuals. And so as Taryn was saying, part of the auto tracking of the effort, the productivity, you're going to be able to see that as you're inputting time or even points, and it's all going to roll up per individual or for the entire team. So you can easily track that. Along with this, for remote teams, what we can do in the task board here is for each certain day that we're able to go ahead and log in and log out. So we're able to track our login times and our logout times. And when I do something like that, as long as other teams or team members have ProjectOne open, they'll be able to see my availability. Okay, so now if I needed to, let's say needed to get a hold of Scott and he's not available, let's say through other means like Skype or Microsoft Teams, I can always reach him through ProjectOne by sending a request to reply. So over here I can say, and this is the disciplinary attribute that Taryn was mentioning. So over here I can say, hey Scott, I try to reach you via Skype. Please respond to me here. So I'm able to basically type in a message and indicate the severity in which Scott will have a certain period of time to respond to me by. If he doesn't respond, then of course this could be tracked as a penalty to his performance. So that's one thing that we can support in our task board. So not only the attendance of logging in, logging out, but basically tracking availability and so on and so forth. So over here, back to my list of tasks. When I assign the task to February to these individuals, they're going to be set as to be planned. They're going to be sitting in there. This sprint is actually 1 month long. So it's each of these rows is going to be representing 1 week here. So what I can do now is in my calendar view is I can take some of these things, some of these tasks, and kind of plan out my week. So I'm able to just drag and drop by doing so. And that's essentially how I plan out my week for these tasks. Okay. Along with that, let's go to Scott here. I got some tasks for him as well. He can log in and then he can start dragging the tasks over to his calendar as well. From here, if we want to track a little bit more than just task tracking here, we're able to place what we call objectives. So an objective is basically for your higher level managers to be able to track to be able to track the effort that they're placing in. And this is going to be, a score that we can calculate for this individual. So by doing so, I'm going to add a work objective here, and that's me, trying to track the effort for SEO. And what I can do here is highlight this, and I can link these tasks over to this objective. So let's just say, I gave 100 points for completing this work objective, and by looking at the task board and seeing the progress that's made on these tasks, I can then indicate what kind of target I achieved, right, for completing this. So let's say, everything looks good, but we're missing one task. Then, at the end of the week, I can say, well, I think, he did a great job, but not 100% of everything that we needed as part of the SEO effort. So this is something that we can use to track performance as well, along with all of these other metrics. Okay, so this is simple task tracking, but I'm going to go ahead and take you a little bit further than this in how we actually implement our marketing. So in our marketing, I'm already logged in our marketing project. It's very similar. So if I go to task tracking, it's going to be our execution here. But instead of using the upper levels for planning purposes, we're actually going to use our requirements module. So the requirements module is not only for ALM, but it could be for any kind of task tracking. And the reason why we do so is to allow our users or managers to be able to see things at a higher level. So when I go to my requirements, I have a list of everything that we need to accomplish for this cloud product launch, for ProjectOne launch, and it's all organized and prioritized within this view. Over here, the most important thing is this project pulse right here. So as I'm working through the tasks, so each of these requirements for marketing, they'll have tasks that are assigned into that task tracking project, or I'm sorry, module. And then as I'm completing the work in task management, these guys, the percent finishes, will actually change or update in real time. So over here, looks like we have one task or a couple of tasks maybe that are planned to be finished by today. So if I hover over our calendar view here, I can actually see what kind of progress I'm going to make by tomorrow or even the day after, and so on and so forth. So over here, when I do something like this, you can kind of see by tomorrow, we're hoping that this requirement will be finished. So meaning all of the tasks underneath it will be completed for this particular requirement. So if I navigate through, we'll see this guy update in real time. Okay, so that's, I'm going to explain a lot more about this in a second. But basically, if you were to just, do task tracking, I mean, there's a lot of tools out there that can do that, right? What we bring to the table is a lot more than that. So a task board that tracks, your performance, the effort, the productivity, et cetera, as well as being able to use the different modules to help augment whatever projects that you're doing. And this, of course, this Project Pulse here will give you real-time updates on everything you're doing within your project. So I'm going to flip over now to our actual development project here. And so over here, we have DevSuite 11 and ProjectOne. This is our actual environment that we use every day. So I created a little demo folder down here because I didn't want to update, I didn't want to mess up our development efforts by adding things to show you here. But essentially, our DevSuite 11 and ProjectOne requirements all sit in here. All right, and they're actually categorized by these different folders. This represents all of the work that we plan on doing for this release. Down here in my little demo folder here, I have actually a set of specs that are categorized under this demo folder. So I'm going to go ahead and create one, and just to show you real quick. So just like DevSuite, we're able to have different types of requirements. So here, because internally we don't use anything else but specifications, I can't select anything else. But you could potentially have, a high level requirement that's broken down into specifications. You may have like a risk analysis, spec type, all these different things we're able to support. So in our case, because we're only using specifications, I'm just going to add something simple here. So I'm going to just create a new spec that says add yellow button. This is something that we want to do as part of Project One. Over here, what's really cool about this is our implementation modules. So I'm going to say add a yellow button, and then we have to decide where we want to add that yellow button. Okay, so here are all these different areas of the product that we could potentially implement this into. So over here, I'm going to say, well, we need to do this in Project One for sure, and then we also need to do this in DevSuite. So I'm going to go ahead and select those modules. I think DevSuite is in here, yep. And then I'm going to assign them points, okay? So over here, I'm going to say that the effort that it's going to take to implement this yellow button in Project One might be 8 hours. And so when I put in points right here, 8 hours, or 8 points rather, in our case, a point equals 1 hour, etc. But of course, that's an arbitrary number that you can choose to change. And I'm going to say in DevSuite Web it might be a little bit easier, so I'm going to indicate that it's only 4 points worth. Okay. And so over here, I'm just going to assign an owner to this. I'm just going to assign these to myself here. And essentially, I've given the ability to track the effort for these different implementation modules. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, and I'm going to submit. I'm also going to be the person responsible for updating the specification. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that. And then now I should have add a yellow button. So here, what I'm going to show you next is the cloud integration real quickly. So as part of the collaboration platform that Taryn mentioned, what really helps us is the ability to add documents right into using cloud into our requirements. So over here, I'm just going to go ahead and open up a file here. Actually, I'm going to cancel this. I'm just going to drag a file in there. So give me 1 second. And let me find a file that I can upload to. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this requirement that I've done in Word. And I'm just going to go ahead and upload it. So what this does is it uploads this requirement in more detail directly into our cloud environment, and it also associated with this particular requirement. I have the ability now to click on this and view this document using cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And it's going to open this document. This is kind of like what you guys saw when Taryn was making his presentation, some controls that you saw down here. But essentially with any document, any images that you embed within the description fields, they become interactive. And what I mean by that is I'm able to create what we call syncs, or I'm able to create meetings against these documents. Okay, so this is my requirements doc for this particular requirement. And let's say I'm working with our offshore teams, right? They're on a different time zone. There's no way I can get a hold of them right now. What I would do is create a sync offline. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new sync here. Just going to give it a name real quickly. And I'm going to record the sync. So you can kind of see there's actually a timer. So right now, everything that I'm saying is being recorded as part of this document. So I'm able to use the controls over here on the right-hand side to kind of mark or highlight or make annotations to areas that are important that I want my development team to take notice, right? So as I'm talking through this document, as I'm playing annotations or placing annotations in here, or even videos, I can even embed other types of objects right into this document as well to help further explain the document. It'll all be captured as part of my sync. So when I'm done, I can go ahead and save that. And basically what happens now is if I go ahead and close it, I exit out of here, save and exit, I'm able to hover over here and be able to see any kind of syncs or any meetings that I've done for this particular requirement, right, as part of the item, as part of this requirement. So if I click on this sync, it's essentially going to play back that document along with all the annotations, along with my voice, explaining what needs to be done for that particular spec. So that's what cloud integration brings to the table with ProjectOne. There's a lot of other uses for it too that I'm going to show you in a second. One of them being able to, Terry mentioned sync rooms. So I'm able to actually hold a discussion on multiple requirements by just simply selecting all these and sending it to the sync room, right? So once I send these items over to a sync room, then what happens is I can invite either my customers or my internal team to have real-time chat collaboration against all these different items. Okay, so that's what that is going to do. Okay, so the next thing of this, once I assigned out, or once I've actually finished my requirement, the one other thing that I may want to do is create test cases for this. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm just going to go ahead and simply create a new test case, and it's going to copy some of these fields over, and then I'm able to, place in some instructions here. So in simplicity, I'm just going to go ahead and, submit that. And then now I have a new test case that's associated with this particular spec. So it goes back to that traceability that you always see inside DevSuite. So once I'm done with this, there's not much else to do except to assign this over to development. So I'm going to just go ahead and click on this column, stories and tasks here, and then I'm going to go ahead and create those. And so you can kind of see here, because I said earlier that in order to implement this correctly, add this yellow button, I have to do it in DevSuite Web, I have to do it in ProjectOne. I have tasks automatically created for each of these modules, if you will. Additionally, I can actually indicate other tasks that need to be created too by just adding this guy right here. So over here, let's say I have DevSuite that I need to do, I have ProjectOne I need to do, but there actually could be multiple tasks per implementation module. So what I'm going to do here is in P1, or actually I'm going to go ahead and add another task, as part of P1. I should actually see that. So, okay. So essentially, I can have the same modules. I can have multiple tasks for the same modules. And over here, basically, I need to break down the amount of effort that I think it's going to take. So in DevSuite Web, we mentioned that it was going to be 4 points worth, and each point representing 1 hour. In our case, I'm going to say that this particular task is going to go ahead and use all 4 of those points, right? Similarly, over here, I can say for this particular task for P1 is going to be 4 points, and this one is also going to be 4 points. And that actually is a breakdown of my total of 8 points into these tasks. Okay, so now if it was done correctly, this actually should be a P1 instead of P1 admin here. So I apologize for that. But anyway, when I'm done here, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that real quick here. And I'm just going to go ahead and change that back to 8 points. So I have 1 task for each of the modules. I'm going to go ahead and confirm. And so what I just did now is I assigned this over to our development. So if I look at this guy right here, if I just hover over the folder structure here, I'm able to see my development structure. So this is how it looks like inside our development module. For DevSuite 11, these are all of our sprints. They're about 2 weeks long. I could either, most of the time I'm going to plan it for my future sprints, which is represented by a blue icon, or my current sprint represented by green. I'm just going to do it for the current sprint. So I think everything's okay because it's highlighted there. But I'm going to go ahead and confirm that real quick here and just make sure this one is the same as well. And then that's it. So now I have a yellow button. I have my tasks that are assigned out to a sprint. And I'm going to hover over to my development module. So in my development module, this is what you saw earlier when I started assigning things out. Again, I have a task board that's very similar to what you saw earlier for task tracking, but this handles the implementation work of everything we need to do for this particular product. So over here, you can kind of see under my name, because I assigned the task over. Again, they're going to be sitting right here, but my tasks have been created, and now all I have to do is actually plan out when I'm going to be doing this. So I have my task add a yellow button right here. I'm going to go ahead and just assign that out, and that's it, right? So once I assign it out to a particular day, the next thing I would have to do is I would just basically click on this right here, and then just input the time entries. So over here, I'm going to say how much time I spent on it. So I said, initially we were saying it's going to take 8 hours to do. And then over here, all I have to do is indicate how much time I spent on this particular requirement. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then it's going to kind of give me a warning message, because what happened is I mentioned that this guy is going to take 8 hours to do, and I completed those 8 hours, right? It's going to prompt me or let me know that, hey, there's a test case that's associated with this particular requirement. So prior to you saying that, or me saying that this work is completed, I have to actually just quickly make sure that it's tested. So this serves as a reminder just to let you know that, hey, in order for you to guarantee quality for this particular requirement or task, we have to make sure we test this. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, yep, tested, right? Put a note in there, and then hit OK here. And then so now what happens is my my task becomes 100%. And if I flip back over to my requirements view, you will now see that my progress, my percent finish, gets updated, right? So there's actually 2 tasks. I've done one of them, so total is 67% as of Tuesday, actually. So if I hover over, you can kind of see that. Now, if I want to see the overall progress, I'm just going to click through this and kind of show you that pulsing. So here, if I flip to tomorrow, Thursday, I'm able to see that, hey, add orange button right here, certain percentage is going to be finished, and then eventually, if I keep going, I'm going to be able to see additional completion rates, and then eventually I should be able to see all of these guys finish if I have assigned all the tasks out to those days. Okay, so this is the project policy, and it really allows us to drive our team, especially for product owners like Taryn and myself. We don't necessarily have to go into development to look at everybody's task board, but instead looking at it from a higher picture. This is crucial right here. So we just need to know like how far along it is with it, and we leave our development team to be self-driving. Okay, so that's how we would do this. Creating specs and basically assigning tasks out to the sprints, and then we get real-time feedback on the progress of each one of these requirements. Now, let's talk about agile planning for a little bit here. So in each one of these requirements right here, what I simply did so far was I assigned them over to a sprint without even accounting for planning, accounting for prioritization. So before I do anything further, first thing I want to point out to you guys is that inside ProjectOne, we're able to basically assess the priority by dragging and dropping, or simply putting in a priority order value. Okay, so moving things up and down, and you'll get a prioritized list. The second thing I want to mention is these requirements, especially in Agile, it's extremely difficult to set a start date and an end date, because that's what Agile is, right? Things change all the time. So instead, we're going to basically be committing these guys, this feature list, to what we call roadmap months. So let's just say I want to implement all of this, right, inside our product. I basically just need to say which month I need to do these in. So essentially, I'm not really putting in a start date and end date, even though you can, but it's just really hard to do so in an agile environment. I essentially basically assign them over to a requirements month. Okay, so what that means is now if I hover over to my planning view, or my planning module, I'm able to see at a very high level everything that's happening within this product. So over here, before I show you anything further, just want to indicate that this guy right here is a roll-up of all these different things that we're doing. So not only the requirements, our development effort, but also testing, we're able to see this in a Gantt chart, except that the Gantt chart is not using a start or end date. And so if I hover over these roadmap months, these are the things that we committed for January and for February and so on and so forth for our requirements. So at a very high level, we're always able to gauge, a set of features that we committed and where we are at with them. So right here, if I click on this right here, and let's go ahead and do January real quick. If I hover over this and I just basically click on our calendar again, it's going to show you real-time pulse of all those requirements that you saw in the requirement view, as well as the actual progress so far. So these are all the things that we've already accomplished to 100%. So again, this is a roll-up of all the tasks, all the implementation work, but we're able to just go ahead and use this view to see where we're at, right, for January. If I go over to the calendar here, for January, it's going to start on January 1st, but basically we're able to, let's do February instead. So let me do February. Click on this guy right here, okay, and then basically my calendar again changes, but you can kind of see as you flip through the days, you'll see the actual percentages that were completed on that day. So from using this guy right here, we're able to easily tell if we're going to be on target or not by a certain day, right? So if I go towards the end of the month, hopefully all of these requirements that we've added are going to be sitting at 100%. At the same time, we can go backwards as well. So going backwards will actually show me what kind of productivity we had for, in the past to help us gauge, future activity better, right? So this is our agile planning piece. Again, this is not a Gantt chart that's based on start and end dates, even though you can. But again, in the agile world, it's just a little bit more difficult. Now, we have it set as months here, but if we really wanted to adhere to, let's say, Scrum, then we could potentially change, these months to be 2 weeks long, or even, a longer duration like a quarter if needed. Okay, so that's the planning piece. If I go back into the development module, we also have our planning view, our sprint planning view here, where we are looking at a list of requirements right here, as well as defects that we may find in testing. So it'll be a complete list of both requirements as well as defects that we need to assign out to different sprints. Okay, and then from here, we can also assign them to roadmap months so that they will appear in our planning view. Okay, so that's all I really wanted to talk about here. Lastly, Tara mentioned something about the timesheets. I just want to show you that real quickly. So as you're making progress on these tasks every day of the week, the system's automatically able to generate a timesheet. So if we click on that timesheet right here, it should show us all the stuff that we've done for this week in terms of all the different tasks for each day, the total number of hours that we spent, total number of task points that we've accomplished, and things like that. All of these metrics will be captured as part of the timesheet that you can submit over to management, especially, let's say, if you're a contractor, right? So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. That's the timesheet capability there. And then lastly, I want to just quickly show you the performance metrics. So if I click on any sprint or any individual, that little summary report is going to give me all of these metrics, the 6 dimensions that ProjectOne is able to do. So in terms of our attendance, how much time we spent, time remaining, those little disciplinary actions that we've taken against an individual are all recorded here. So a nice real-time performance report on effort, productivity, etc., is automatically captured as you work through your tasks, as you work through your requirements. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. And then lastly, the last piece I want to talk about is our new test modules. Okay, so the test module is actually broken down into, you might know the test case module as the template or the test library. In DevSuite, I think we call it the template project, and then the test run, the test execution will be the work project. So over here, I'm going to go over into our test cases. It looks very similar to our requirements view. And over here in my little demo folder, I've already got a few of these test cases that were created from requirements. So over here, if I click on this, I'm able to go ahead and put in my test procedure, do this and that, and then I can indicate what my expected result is. This should work, right? So something like that. Additionally, once I'm done, I can click save. If I click on this one right here, I'm going to do it a little bit differently because I'm going to use verification points. And what that is if I use fixed verification points, I'm able to actually add steps as my procedure. So instead of adding my procedure here, whoops, I actually wanted to say something like that. Step 1, do this, and then what should my result be, right? And then step 2, do that, and then what should my result be? So now in this particular scenario, I'm actually verifying each of these steps in order to pass or fail this test case. Versus this one, there's no verification points, so it's essentially a pass or fail on the entire thing. Okay, so I forgot to, okay, I'm good here. I thought I didn't save, I apologize. But that's essentially how you would do test cases inside ProjectOne. So nothing too different here. These are all of our test cases that we have. The other thing that we can do as well is the environment variables. So environment variables are just basically different configurations that can be tested, different environments that can be that this test case needs to run against. So we can define our environment variables as well on these test cases. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the test run real quickly here. And the first thing I'm going to do here is basically create either a new release, let's say. So here I'm going to define the scope and the coverage of my testing. So I'm going to say this is a production release. I'm just going to put my name in there because I want to go back and delete that afterwards. And of course, I may want to indicate like when I want to do this by. So a start and end date so that it will actually appear in my overall planning view, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hit next here. And over here, I'm going to define all the different environments I'm going to test against. So in this case, I don't want to select everything, but I just want to make sure that I test against the web and the client, the admin here, as well as maybe different languages. So by the end of this test, I want to make sure that all of these environments are included. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next, and I'm going to hit next. And then here, I'm defining the coverage. So in this case, I just want to cover everything for ProjectOne. I'm going to hit next here. And then now, we're borrowing some dialogues that come up from DevTest as we're getting ready to migrate this over to ProjectOne as well. So it's temporary, but I'm going to go ahead and select my test cases here. Now, one thing you might not know is that inside ProjectOne, inside DevTest, you're able to include future test cases. So over here, I've included all of these test cases from all these different folders. But what happens if I add additional or new test cases into those folders? Should I cover those or not? So in this particular case, I'm saying, yeah, let's go ahead and make sure all of the new test cases that are added into these folders are also covered. Okay, so over here, I'm able to select individuals as well, but for simplicity's sake, I'm going to go ahead and select everything. And hit next here, and basically wrap up my coverage here. So we introduced this little grid view here. Basically, again, all the folders, all the different areas that we want to test, and all of our test cases. Over here, some of these non-applicables, they're defined at the test case level. So in the test case, we're saying, hey, you know what, for web and English, we're never going to need to test that. But I have the option to actually overwrite some of this stuff right here. So I can say, you know what, we're not going to bother testing these particular environments or the combination of these environments. Okay, so I'm able to overwrite things, and then I'm also able to define what's going to happen for my future test cases. So within all of these different folders that could include future test cases, what should the default be, right? So I can say, hey, you know what, for future test cases, we're never going to worry about the web in these different languages. So I'm able to overwrite that or actually set a default for my future test cases. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish. So now I created my release. So I essentially defined my scope. I essentially defined my coverage. I'm able to actually see everything that I selected up here. So inside Project One, we're introducing a couple of new views for you. So we still have our list view of all the different things. We also have our coverage view now so that you can easily see what's all being tested. And then, of course, our summary report, which was kind of hidden inside dev test. So as I'm creating cycles underneath this particular release, this data should actually generate for me. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to create a new test cycle here. So a test cycle will be a subset of my release. So I'm going to go ahead and do test cycle 1 here. Also in Project One, we also have the ability to set an execution order. So we can say you have to test this certain test case before you can do this one. So we're able to set an execution order inside Project One now. So I'm going to go ahead and just specify, a date here. Doesn't really matter what I select there. And then again, like I mentioned, it's going to be a subset. So maybe in this test cycle, the web is ready, but none of the other modules or none of the other environments are ready just yet. The next thing I would do is I would go ahead and finish and add tasks. So over here, again, this is based on my release coverage, but I can go ahead and say, you know what, I only want to test certain areas because I know the other parts aren't ready yet. But I'm going to go ahead and select everything here for now. I think this is going to give me a total of, if I do this checkbox right here, it's going to give me 1,000 testing tasks. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next here. And over here, I'm able to, again, define which tasks are going to be created. So I'm able to go ahead and manually overwrite. Let's say if I didn't want to test some of these guys right here, I can go ahead and uncheck those. Or I can overwrite our test case rule by setting this guy to be not applicable. So in the future, when I create another test cycle that includes this test case with this combination environment, we won't ever have to test that. So it actually kind of just gets smarter as you are creating test cycles, as you are creating tasks underneath these cycles. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish here. I kind of want to point out as well the performance. There's been huge performance improvements made over in Project One. You can kind of see how quickly I was able to go through a wizard with 1,000 test cases. So the difference in Project One versus what you guys may have is pretty severe, pretty dramatic. And that's one of the key areas that we've been focusing on, making sure that everything is really quickly so that you don't have to sit there and wait. But once I do create all of these guys, we now have a visual grid, kind of like instead of a boring list view, maybe even, right? So our traditional list view is still here, but we now have a grid view that actually allows you to test faster. So if I click over here, I'm able to see the details of what needs to be tested, but more importantly, the number of clicks have been dramatically reduced for testers. So here I can easily pass real quickly all of these different things. And then as I'm doing that, you can kind of see my progression being updated in real time, right? One of the other things that you can do instead of using environments too is maybe set testers as an environment variable. in which you would have, tester 1 appear here, tester 2 appear here, but they're essentially going to be testing the same test case, but for multiple people. So you can kind of do that too, kind of be creative about it. Over here, I'm going to go ahead and fail one of these, and it's going to go ahead and submit a defect right here. So this defect is going to basically go into our development module. It could potentially go into our backlogs. But more importantly, I wanted to show you the cloud integration here. So earlier we did a document, but here I'm going to go ahead and do a screenshot. So I'm going to capture some of this right here, and I'm going to paste the screenshot right into it, into this description field. And it's going to upload into cloud. And so from this screenshot, I can actually make annotations. I can record a sync. I can describe the defect in much more detail than I can type, right? So that's one benefit of this cloud platform or cloud integration. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that defect. And there we have it. Lastly about this too is one more improvement that we made too is for test cases that have multiple steps, we're actually now able to submit a defect against a single step instead of the entire test case. So unfortunately, there's too many in here. I don't really know which one has the the steps, but just know that we're able to submit defects now against verification points. So I'm kind of running out of time, but that actually wraps up the demo. And I just want to conclude real quickly by letting you guys know the pricing, how this is going to work. So if you're an existing customer today, you have access to upgrade to ProjectOne for free. And Tara and Ashley wanted to allow everybody to be able to actually try out the cloud collaboration tools. So we're going to offer 10 hours, of cloud meetings for free, and then 100 hours of syncs. So those syncs are basically those annotations, that recording that I've done on the documents. Okay. Also for ProjectOne, we're also going to be offering individual module pricing as well. So you can do, let's say you just wanted the test module, we can stick with that and not get any other piece. After this expires, or if you have everything used up, let's say you did more than 10 hours of meetings, you created more than 100 hours of sync, then for ProjectOne, or cloud integration for ProjectOne is just going to be $10 per user. So this guy basically allows you to create syncs, allows you to create meetings, but at free cost or free of charge rather, anybody would be able to view those things without needing a license for. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about real quickly is the upgrades. So ProjectOne, we feel, is about ready to be released. So we encourage our customers to reach out to any of us, me, our support team, and then we'll set you up with beta testing. We also want to ensure that we help you in upgrades. So we want to give you 1 day free of professional service to help you upgrade to ProjectOne in the future. And then just to wrap everything up, the benefits of ProjectOne, there's quite a bit. Hopefully you saw that throughout the demo, but it's a better task board. It's going to be different than other tools out there like Asana, Monday, things like that, because we're able to quantify productivity and quality, and it's also designed for remote teams. So I showed you the logging in and out, time tracking, etc. And then more importantly, the agile planning, which hasn't been done in any other tool. The testing modules just showed you, the task tracking capabilities, performance tracking, the auto calculation of those 6 dimensions, and then lastly, our cloud integration. So to wrap everything up, we're about to do another webinar in 2 weeks. It's going to be more focused on cloud, what it can do, and also integration with ServiceWise and CustomWise. And that's it for now. And I appreciate your time again, and thanks for joining this webinar. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much. I also want to add, we plan to do another webinar using cloud. It will be more interactive as a workshop to kind of discuss, show you guys how to upgrade to P1. hopefully you guys can join.
Okay, great. Thank
We
you,
ran
everybody.
out of time for questions, so thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to just send them to us. Unfortunately, ran out of time, couldn't get to you guys, but it's okay. Just send me an email and I'll try to address your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.